everyone. Today's video is about feminism. For this video, I will be introducing the idea of feminism to you, just in case you've never heard of it, but also debunking stupid myths about feminism. Feminism is a range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights. Feminist theory aims to understand the nature of gender inequality and examining women's social roles and lived experiences. Radical feminism is a type of feminism that calls for a radical reordering of society in which male supremacy is eliminated. Fourth wave feminism is a feminist movement that began around the year 2012 and is characterized by the focus of the empowerment of women, use of internet tools, and intersectionality. It seeks greater gender equality for focusing on gender norms and marginalization of women in society. Fourth wave feminism is defined by technology. One of the main things feminism fights is rape culture and male dominance. While there are quote-unquote reasons why men's violence against women happen, they actually oversimplify a reality. Men have been taught to be the dominant and powerful in the world. Whether it's a boss sexually harassing an employee, a husband beating his wife, or a man raping a woman, men are exerting dominance and control. It doesn't matter if the abuser does not view it as an expression of power. Countless daily acts of violence against women create a climate of fear and powerlessness that limits a woman's freedom. The threat of male violence continues to keep women from stepping out of traditional roles that have been taught. The most common emotional responses to sexual harassment, battering, or rape are guilt, fear, powerlessness, shame, betrayal, anger, and denial. Women may feel guilty about the violence done to them, and that they are to blame. Blaming the victim releases the man who commits violence from the responsibility for what he has done. Women are not guilty when the violence is done against them. Over the years, women have been fighting to end male violence against women. Women must be taught to expect equality, and men must be taught to reject violence and to respect women as equals. In addition, we must speak out against rape culture and encourage women to report rapes, such as the Me Too movement, which I think is a good thing. 1 in 5 women have been raped. Approximately 1 in 6 women have experienced sexual coercion, and only 25 rapes were reported in 2018. That's a really disgusting number. And that's why the Me Too movement is very important. A lot of people who are against the Me Too movement and say that rape culture doesn't exist and blah 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 blah, some of them argue that all of this reporting of rape is stupid and that you should not believe the women. Well, of course there are falsely reported rapes, but according to CONSACS, only 2% of reported rapes are false. That is a low number. So we really must fight rape culture and do not deny that it exists, because it does exist. Now for this next part, I will be showing you a video by Prager University on feminism. It's called Who Needs Feminism? Now I will not be showing the whole entire video, but I will be going over the major points the guy in the video, Andrew Clernan, says.
I am an anti-feminist. Feminism is a mean-spirited, small-minded, and oppressive philosophy that can poison relations between the sexes, relations which for most of us provide some of life's deepest pleasures and consolations. Feminism has attempted to bully us all into accepting an obvious lie. The lie that men and women have the same powers, talents, proclivities, and desires, and that consequently, any discrepancy in their professional paths is due to bigotry and must be corrected by force of culture and law. By shoving that lie down our throats, feminism has made both men and women less happy and less free.
Okay, he starts out by saying that feminism wants to destroy relationships, and he doesn't even give any evidence for that. And then he argues that feminism forces people to believe in a lie that men and women have the same powers, talents, proclivities, and desires. That is mostly true. While yes, men and women are biologically different, their roles in society are actually social constructs. Then he goes on to say that any discrepancies in women's professional paths is due to bigotry and must be corrected by culture and law. What he's saying there is mostly correct. However, feminists don't actually believe that all men are bigoted and are sexist. We see society as sexist and bigoted. Andrew Clernon is trying to portray it like all men are sexist and bigoted under feminism, which is not necessarily true.
Now, I'm going to have to speak in generalities, and I understand there are all kinds of exceptions to what I'm about to say. But the generalities remain generally valid. Feminism denigrates masculinity in men by relentlessly calling us toxic for our flaws rather than appreciating our natural qualities of energy, risk-taking, and leadership. But it also denigrates femininity in women, working to replace most women's commitment to relationship and child-rearing with male obsessions, such as career status and strength. What's the result? Take a look at the quintessential feminist icon, Rosie the Riveter, flexing her muscle. The truth is, any man of the same size and fitness can make a bigger, stronger muscle than Rosie can. By herding women away from their feminine natures, feminism seeks to transform them from first-rate women into second-rate men.
Well, you see here he tries to argue that feminism is generally anti-masculinity, which is wrong. Feminism is against toxic masculinity. There is a difference. Then he pulls up a picture of Rosie the Riveter, and then he argues, for some reason, he argues that feminism seeks to transform women into second-rate men. But the funny thing is here, that's not true. And Rosie the Riveter had nothing to do with flexing her muscles. It was trying to show how women were able to work during the war, as men went off to war.
Now, perhaps you'll protest. Isn't feminism simply the idea that women have the same human rights as men? No, it isn't. That philosophy is called classical liberalism, which holds that we are all equally endowed by God with the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But wait, doesn't the Declaration of Independence say that all men are created equal? Yes, classical liberalism was an idea conceived by and largely for Christian white men. But, like all ideas, good and bad, classical liberalism has evolved over time according to its internal logic, so it now includes all races and both sexes. Good job, Christian white men. Thanks for the great idea.
Now the next part here, he argues that feminism is not about equality, and in fact, it's classical liberalism, and that classical liberalism has evolved over time and seen both men and women as equals because of white Christians. However, he omits that actually it was the feminists who fought for a long, long time in the United States for voting rights and the right to work. White Christian men fought against them. And then finally, after World War I, after women joined the workforce during the war, women had to finally, quote-unquote, prove themselves. So he completely lied right there.
As its excuse for the damage it does to our lives, feminism has developed the historical mythology that men have oppressed women and now must be suppressed in their turn to even things out. Let me propose a different narrative that has the advantage of possibly being true. Insofar as men and women are physical creations, their central purpose is the production of more human beings. Women are therefore fashioned in body and mind to make and nurture children, and men to protect and support those children during their relatively long maturation period. All societies shape themselves around these necessities. They created structures that formalized gender roles and attempted to ensure the paternity of children so that men would care for their own. In many societies, these structures became increasingly ritualistic and oppressive for women. But the opposite happened in the Christian West. Why? Take a look at your Bible, Proverbs 31. The biblical ideal of a good woman is not only strong, kind, and wise, she's also a creative and economic dynamo. Christianity sanctified motherhood in the person of Mary and celebrated women's fortitude and virtue in the female saints. The Church created a version of marriage intended to protect women and designed the philosophy of chivalry, which instructed men to use their superior strength for women, not against them. Individuals can be incredibly abusive to one another, men and women both. But over time, Christendom tended to elevate, protect, and ultimately include women as women in the great enterprise of Western civilization.
He next argues that societies prior to the United States and Western culture were actually oppressive. But then Western culture, as I just proved to you, was the feminists who fought for women's suffrage. However, before the British colonized the United States and Western culture took over this continent, the Native Americans actually had pretty egalitarian societies. This may not be well known, but actually if you study your history, you will learn that Native American societies were actually egalitarian. So what he says there is wrong. For the last part of my video, I will talk about the decriminalization of sex work. Criminalization makes sex workers more vulnerable to violence. Attackers see sex workers as easy targets because they're stigmatized and unlikely to receive help from police. It undermines sex workers' ability to seek justice for crimes against them. They don't report armed robbery or rape to the police because their work is illegal, and also there's the fear of police violence. Decriminalization will maximize sex workers' legal protection. It will not encourage human trafficking, as sex workers will be more able to report human trafficking, therefore stopping it. Well, thank you for watching my video. This was a quick video on feminism. Please give this video a like, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, as well as follow me on Instagram and Twitter. See you next time.